Hello, my name is Andre Veskimeister from Parcellockercentral, and I'm very honored to have today with us Allan Kaczmarek from SwipBox, and actually he is the founder of the SwipBox. Hi, Alan. How are you?
Hi, Andre. I'm fine, absolutely fine.
Yes, it's very nice you to have here, and let's start or let's go back to the very beginning. I read that you started inventing or started dealing with the parcel lockers in 2010.
Yeah,
Was it?
that's actually way before that because the history goes even further back there. In 2012, we actually created the SwipBox brand. We wanted to go into the parcel locker areas, and then we wanted to really get into that part of it. But before that, from 2005, we actually started up working with self-service devices for postal use. We were on that journey in that time with a weight scale and a payment module, and then a touchscreen and tons of printers that could actually print out stamps and parcel labels and everything. So that's where we actually had our entry in the postal market, and really, got to understand the mechanism behind all this. And then it's right, in 2010, we actually came into the fact that we said, okay, we can see that those parcel lockers here will somehow be the market going forward. So let's now focus on that. And we renamed our company from Acon, which was actually Allan's consulting company. Yes, and as you said, I am the founder of the company. But nevertheless, we renamed the company to SwipBox, as we wanted actually something where we had the idea of, remember that you swipe some things on your phone. So we had the idea at that time, it's a long time ago, it's 10, 11 years back. So we had the idea that you should place your parcel in one compartment, and then you swipe on your phone, and it automatically jumps over to another parcel locker, so you can send something to your friends or whatever. Yeah. And the idea was kind of what goes on behind the scene, that there's logistics and there's couriers and sorting centers and stuff like this. Me as an end customer, I don't know anything about that. I should just have the magic, like in Star Trek, that you can actually swipe something and it will slowly disappear in one and come up in some other room. Yeah. So that was the idea and also about the name. We couldn't call it SwipBox and stuff like this, so it ended up being SwipBox, more or less. So that's the history on the name. And then at that time, we kind of wanted to create our own network in this area. So we were building up our own blue. We call them classic boxes today. They are still here. We still sell some of them. But with a touch screen on, and you type a PIN code, and then it opens, and it has a modem on top and stuff like this. And we got them out. We wanted to do something different. We were always having tons of mantras. And one of the mantras was saying, okay, one man should be establishing one station in less than 1 hour. Okay, so that was one of the mantras. And we also had another mantra saying that every time the competitors, we had lots of competitors at that point, the beautiful caper boxes and stuff like this. Every time they do something, we try to do the opposite way. Okay. So they put in big screens, we had to put small screens. Today, and that time, they had ADSL lines dig down. It's a long time ago. So they digged in ADSL lines, and of course they had to do that. So in this case, we wanted to go mobile. Yeah. So they had barcode scanner. We did not have barcode scanner in the first place. We had to build them in on a later stage. But nevertheless, we ended up actually creating a product. They also had big, beautiful products that could be placed outdoor. So we wanted very small units that could be easily installed. You can easily, expand them and make them smaller and stuff like this. And they were placed indoor, because that's the opposite of the competition at that point. So all those mantras actually we put into this classic version of the box, as we still have it actually, and it's still running out there. And I think we have 3,500, 4,000 of those units out there still. But we could also see, at that point in time. So if we are speeding a little bit forward here, coming up to 2017 around, I could see that the classic boxes here is a great solution. It's working. It's you go and type your PIN code, and the door will open, and you get your parcel. And we were one of those companies. We actually had another thing that we want to trial out. We wanted to spread ourselves widely. So we spread ourselves out on not one country, but on, I don't know, we were 60 countries that we had these units standing in. So it was kind of a show off that we also could place them in Africa, get them to work, and place them in Asia, Macau, and stuff like this. So many of the machines are still there. So in Philippines and Vietnam and stuff like this, so we can set them up, and they were working, and we had a contract. We still do have a fine contract with DHL where they are operating those boxes, and we are really happy about that. So it was a kind of also a really good showroom. And for us as developers, because we kind of come out of the software business, we are software vendors, and we, if go walk around in the company here, majority of the people are software engineers, and we design the hardware, but we have other people to build it actually. So we see ourselves as a software company, more or less. However, in 2016, I could see, well, classic boxes is a good idea. Having them be placed in retail stores indoor, it's a good idea, but they don't have the space for it. And they would like to have money for their space and stuff like this. And I also, here in Denmark, we had a really good cooperation, still do, with one of the big supermarket chains here in Denmark. And then I think we have 550 installation here in Denmark. But if you count on it and try to calculate a little bit on this here, you would fastly see that, okay, it can take a couple of millions, maybe 3.5 million parcels a year, and that's it. But the market here is 120 million parcels just in Denmark, and we are a very small country. But nevertheless, so we it was just such a tiny part of the market that we could actually take. We couldn't really grow the network because it's in all the outlets, so we had to do something. And then it actually came to think, if we want to step out in the big stream of parcel, we had to reinvent kind of everything that we had. So the classic boxes, they are with a modem on top, which is nice and fine, but that's one single point of failure. They are with a power outlet, so you have to get some power and put them in the power. If you take them out of the power, they won't work. They still have some advantages because they are fast to set up. We are down on 15 minutes to set a unit up, like they say, one man, 15 minutes. That was okay. But if we really wanted to step out in the bigger stream of parcel, then we had to rethink. And that's where the newly Infinity box came up. And now we have 35, 40,000 units out in the field now. Because the idea was here that if we wanted to step in the big stream of parcels, we want to make the parcels available where people are. People are living in their residential homes, in their homes. They are still living close to residential, to retail, but they are, we are everywhere, so to speak. So we wanted to invent the machine that could be placed everywhere, without power, without mobile coverage, without, it should just stand there. And then we had a couple of requirements saying that, but if we place it there, then it has to be there for the full lifespan of its kind of, of the full lifespan, which means that it should stay there for 10 years. And then we wanted it to be operated for 10 years on the same batteries, because everything, counting down to the nitty gritty, every time you have to go to a box, do something, change a battery, fix something, that's cost. Yeah. So we wanted to keep the cost as low as we could in operating a network like us. But instead of then just having 550, we can operate 5,000, 7,000, 10,000 outlets. So some of the ideas of being able to place them very close to people's home. Taking the location game and actually explode it completely. You don't have to be dependent on power. You don't have to be dependent on internet. You don't have to be dependent on network. You don't have to be dependent on anything, because we kind of build that into the ecosystem that you don't have to be dependent. So it can stay there. The only thing that we actually had to take out is the touchscreen. So we had to move it over to our mobile phones. You have to download an app, and we thought that this might be, this is an obstacle that we have to fight against, and it somehow sometimes are. But on the other hand, with 35, 40,000 units out there, it's not a problem. Yeah. So the app, and we have all sort of other solutions to pick up the parcels here. But we moved the touch or the interface to people's mobile phones. It also gave us an advantage in saying that, well, then we do not need to have network in the boxes, because the network you're carrying around with. So the the synchronization and the stuff, we actually got a couple of patterns on how we can actually distribute these tokens, as we call them, encrypted tokens, through the phones of both the carriers and some of the users that are meeting up on this here. So we never lose a single transaction. So it's a long story this year, but actually we got an enormously stable network that can operate. You put it up, takes today 5 minutes to set up. For the fastest one, it takes 5 minutes to set them up. So you can establish a network really fast and efficient. And from there on, you can actually start to operate it the day after. So it's so you set them up. We have the app. All the apps that are kind of built into this ecosystem actually helps. From the maintenance app, the installation app that the installers are using to install the unit, it's extremely easy to actually do. So we have some UX designers who really made a great job on getting this here easy to use and really efficient while installing the unit. So the installers would then look at his app and say, okay, I need to go to this geolocation. I need to bring these units. And then I go there, I find the units that I need to bring. I click on the app, and it automatically detects the units. It automatically checks that all the doors can open, and it reads his geolocation. He steps back, takes a nice picture of the units as we're going to use them. We're putting this on our server and using this for later use. And then he's done. And when he's clicking done, the next day it'll receive parcels. So on we go. We shouldn't actually need to go to this location again within the next 10 years. Of course, the couriers will go there on a daily basis. Yeah. But other than that, to maintain it and to do anything about it, we shouldn't go there. Sometimes we got graffiti and sometimes things happen on a big network. But all in all, most of the machines, they are just placed there and they will run. And that was the idea. Run for 10 years. We actually warrant the battery for 10 years. So we kind of give a guarantee that it'll last for the next 10 years on batteries. And then in 10 years, the aluminium and everything that is built up will be, it's ready for change. And then we can, hopefully we'll sell them a couple of new ones. Yeah.
Yeah, this is you ended up with an interesting point that you are most probably the only one who are using aluminum as a material for the lockers. Other ones are using mostly steel one. From what this kind of choice or how this happened?
Why did we do that? Yeah. How could we be that stupid?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a good one.
Compliment, this material feels very stable, sturdy, and
Yes,
very
and
sort
it's
of
lightweight and
authentic.
there's so many good qualities. It also has some drawbacks because we want to be really want to be a green company, a sustainable company. So our solutions should also be sustainable in many ways. Yeah, but nevertheless, we choose the aluminum because all the classic boxes, they were sheet metal and they were bended sheet metal. So we wanted something that we could produce easier, faster and easier in bigger scales. And the extrusion methods that we have today can actually extrude pretty wide, items. Yeah. So we ended up actually going with aluminium to take away some, some bending labor hurts. And in this year, we know that some of it can be done automatically, but many of those bending machines and stuff are still operated by manual stuff here. And now we can actually do it a lot faster and a lot more efficient by introducing those extruded aluminium stores where we actually have to cut them up in the right sizes instead of using sheet bended metal. And then again, on the lifespan of this here, the bended sheet metal, if you are getting something, if you're hitting them with something, they'll start to rust. And we don't want to have our units to rust within the lifespan of 10 years. And you can just take a look at many of, on the classic boxes or sheet metal boxes. If they get a scratch somewhere, they'll start to rust there. So it's so on that part of it, we could see that the wear and tear on the other materials. We are still using sheet metal for the in part of it and for some of the inner parts of it. But nevertheless, the aluminium doors here really helped us in many ways. It's also something about that when you have to do service on a box like this, if you have to change something, if you have to change a door because it's bended or something like this, you have to lift the front off. And if you had the front in sheet metal, it'll be 1.5 times as heavy, which means that you might be having 2 men there, or you need to have or 2 people there to operate it. In these cases here, we can actually, 1 man actually can fix it. And that was also in the equation while we were deciding upon that material. So it was actually widespread of many things that actually came in, and we got the doors as we have them here. But today it's actually working pretty well for us, these doors.
Yeah, I believe so also. But let's go back to your origins. You said that you are sort of software company mostly, and I really appreciate that, because what I personally see is that there are a lot of manufacturers who are making lockers.
Yeah.
They can make computer inside and solenoids or motorized locks and
Yes.
everything. They can compile it, but the real business effect is coming from the capacity management,
Yes.
from the courier or the client side. And this is actually software. This is nothing to do with the hardware as such. So I believe that next phase will be quite a heavy software competition, and I see you extremely fit to that competition, because as I understand, you have quite an extensive ecosystem of softwares, not only for opening doors or filling the lockers, but also additional maintenance and location finders and this kind of stuff, and most probably also some kind of AI to plan the capacity much more wisely, because you are also working with agnostic networks. That
Yes.
is even more important to plan capacity.
Yeah, and you're so right. It actually very early on, because I myself come from a software background, and therefore again, the way that we kind of see ourselves is that we are software vendors with a parcel locker. Whereas I can see many of our nice competition, they are building the most beautiful boxes, but they are box builders rather than software developers. And I think actually that's one of the differences we might have to some of our competitors out there, that from ground up we are software developers, which means that also on the Infinity boxes here, as you were saying, it has a complete ecosystem from everything from the testing that we are doing on the while we are manufacturing them, to the labeling, to everything here, all the software we build around this, and it comes all the way out to, we have some special warehouse apps that actually follows the machine, because again, when our customers today are setting up just not 100 machines or 200 machines, this you can have in an Excel sheet, but you cannot have 5,000 machines in an Excel sheet. You just lose track of them. So we build a warehouse app. So if a customer places some units on stock before they are setting them up, they know where they are. Yeah. So this is also in the ecosystem. And the next thing is the installation part of this here is really, really done. You should try to install a unit like this here. It's an experience that you would say, oh, man, is that easy? And, they can do it really fast, to be honest. Yeah. So we had some of our customers setting over 200 units up per week, So it's going really fast. They could do it even faster if they want, it's just adding up. But the whole installation procedure is actually done really, really nicely in this app environment. We call it the maintenance app because it also takes all the maintenance of the unit. And the maintenance and the ticket system is completely built into this here also. So a courier with his app, he would be able to say, oh, I can see that there's graffiti on this machine. So let me just mark it with a graffiti on the courier app. Automatically, it will create a ticket. Automatically, there's a human being saying okay to it. Yeah. But automatically, it will then be sent out to the maintainer in that area, and he will be seeing on his app, he can see, oh, you need to go to this geolocation. It can give him the geolocation, and he can actually start his navigation on it too, so he knows exactly what he needs to do. He also knows what he needs to bring. Yeah, it's graffiti. I need to change the door. I need to do this and that. So I need to bring those spare parts. So it tells him that. And when he comes there, the way that he has to then take the machine apart and then shift the spare parts that he needs to shift, or if it's a door or whatever it might be, or change or remove some graffiti and stuff like this. This is all done so really nicely. And when it's done again, it automatically gives up to the ticket system. Now I'm done. So you can actually run rather big networks in this here efficiently and cost effectively. Yeah. So that was the idea. Spend as short time as you can fixing the units, even though that you have a large network. And things happens. People drive into them with their cars and stuff like this. That happens, so we can just prepare for it and then do the best we can to give, the whole ecosystem most oil so that they can just do their job with a snap of a finger, right? And then with the courier apps, the way that we insert parcels and take out parcels is also done really well in the UX team. We're constantly following couriers to see where can we optimize, where can we do it, how can we take a second off here and there so that they can do their job faster than they could before. And if I compare this with the classic system where you had to go and scan a parcel on, where the screen is and then go down and then put it in. Today it's a lot faster. You just have your app, the courier app on the phone, and then you scan a parcel, the door will open, and you can actually do it with a finger scanner today. So you can put a finger scan on it. So you have both hands free, and you don't have to go to the screen. You just, you can really efficiently load a unit like this here. And then, of course, the end users. We have SDKs and also end user apps that we can brand for our customers, but most of them are using our SDK so they can build it in efficiently and easy. So it doesn't really necessarily take them a long time. If you already got an app, a transporter got some app already where you can track and trace, you might be able to buy packaging or all sorts of other things, shipments and stuff. They can build this functionality in to open the boxes. Really easy, actually. And then the whole backend system with the BI tools and stuff like this, so you can actually roll and run the network quite efficiently, is growing and growing at all of the time. But then you are mentioning one of the keywords here. 2 years back, we actually heavily invested in our AI department because we totally believe that AI will actually stream into all of the areas that we have. And we started up with a pretty nifty product, actually, because today we can produce them in really high numbers. We got the factory plant is a really efficient factory plant, and they are producing many, many, many hundreds per week, and they can do it. Yeah. And we can set them up. I've just praised the maintenance app and the installation app that they can set them up really fast. So on that behalf, we are really home run. But then you have the locations. How do we, select all these locations where they have to be standing? So we came up with the location generator that we have built now and set into production now. It's a nifty AI tool actually to help you scout the right locations. Today we are scouting locations by people in the car and actually going, that 7-Eleven, we might have a space there and stuff like this. This is what we are doing more or less today. Tomorrow, when we are bringing in the AI on this here, we have the AI. We are actually feeding the AI with all sort of data. Where do we want to have? I like to have them on, retail stores could be a nice place, parking alleys, residential buildings, so they, you feed them in with all the, then you draw some circles on a Google map, and this can be done also by some data input from other sources, but then you draw a circle on a Google map and say, in this part of the city, my density should be really high because I got a lot of inflow of parcels here. And when you've done all the input work on this here, you actually set it in motion. And now we have, depending on what type of service we have, you can use Google Street View if it's out there, but you can also use other services out there. But then we are picking up tons of places in the city, and it's taking a 360 view, and it's bringing this up to the AI on all kind of locations where we think, or the AI thinks that there can be a spot. And then the AI would look at the picture and say, oh, no, that's not good. We have kind of trained the AI to kind of look at those pictures and say, is this a good location or is this a bad location? And it's really efficient. Yeah, you see it in motion. It's actually where you're starting it up. It starts to pop in with the first locations, and you start to look at them and say, oh, well, yeah, that's right. If I drove past this location, I would actually have selected one of those. So it's actually rating the locations and then selecting the best and the most locations where we can. There's things like we can't have them placed on grass. Of course, they cannot be placed in front of windows. Of course, they cannot be placed where people are walking. They cannot be placed in front where cars are driving and stuff like this. So all these things has been trained down to the AI. But as soon as the AI would then find a spot, a location where it thinks this is a good location, actually, then it sends it up to the next AI machine that we build. And this AI machine will then start to predict how many units would we then be able to place here. So we can, we have the units placed up in some racks. One service point can consist of 7-8 racks or something like this here. So how wide can we do it? How many units, how many racks would we be able to place on exactly this service point? This is the next part the AI would do. So it ends up sending tons of location up to a viewer. And it's rated, so we can take the highest rating first. And then the operator, instead of sitting in the car wasting a lot of time on the street, he can then say, oh, this is a really good location. I would like to have this moved over to, or we call it LOMA, or location management system. So then it's being moved over there, and then some other data is being inserted on the location, and we are maybe getting an approval or whatever we need for that location. And then finally, it's moved to a service point that an installer is, seeing in his maintenance app, and then he can go out and install it. So now today, going from a location on served by the AI until a human being is there to install it can be done extremely fast now. So we hope that this will speed up the process of finding the right locations on the right spots, and it most certainly does already. Yeah, but that's only one place we are going to put in the AI. AI will stream in every single corner that we have. So the next thing is our utilization predictor, which means that how is it when we are booking parcels? Are there a spot? Are there the right compartment available when the parcel arrives? So we are using some AI to kind of, when we are getting a shipment booking in through our API, looking at the booking, and then the AI is then trained to see, it has to go to this service point. how is the behavior on this service point? How fast are parcels being picked up? How fast are couriers, when are couriers delivering parcels? Taking this from the history and then predicting, okay, is there a free room for it on, let's say, tomorrow at 10 o'clock when the courier would be? So we can do, or you can say, better capacity management on this here. So this is one of the things that we're going to bring in motion. Yeah, well, very soon, just after Expo here in October month, actually, we will start to enroll that. It's a extremely fast engine, which means that we don't have a lot of time to actually reject parcels while they're coming in on our booking system. On the APIs, we look at this here, and either we need to reject it if there's no space for it, or we need to queue line it, or we need to do different things depending on what the customers want us to do with the parcel. But the new functionality here will then be the utilization predictor, then that can a little bit do some overbooking, because we know that the parcel will be out of the box when the courier is there, because we have predicted that. So hereby, by a high chance of 96% or maybe 98%, we can with certainty predict that there is a room free for that particular parcel while the courier comes in. So that's next part of it, but it'll streamline everywhere. So we are growing the AI team day by day, and I don't see any places where we will not put in AI in this here. It's not that it is a buzz. You can say it's a buzzword, but when you're starting to really see where you can put it in to practical usage, because other places where we haven't done it as yet, but we will do it, is that with maintenance, if we have a unit that has, it could be some wiring, it could be something in that, all the test data that we have been collecting while producing exactly this unit, now 5 years down the lane, we see that it has a special error that we haven't seen before, maybe. So instead of then traversing tons of transactional data and stuff like this and having human beings doing that, then we would like to have the AIs to help us to kind of predict what could this be. We don't want to have serial errors in our system. We would really like to avoid those. So how do we then predict that we are not having any mistakes that we maybe could prevent by going to do some what we call preventive maintenance, change a device, change something in that particular series or something like this, So we were going to put in AI in all sorts of the areas, and from administration to the web tools to the utilities we are creating. Right now, we are creating utilities that are helping our customers, but we will definitely create utilities that are helping ourselves. So our AI team is bound to be a very big team. We are 5-6 people right now, and this team is growing. Yeah.
I'm absolutely in line with you. I think that the market is screaming for especially this capacity planning tools, because this is the way actually where you can make money, additional revenue, without installing additional columns and optimizing that. So I really think that this is the thing, and I also think that AI will be everywhere. Also, this large language models that are booming now, I think they are going to be in use for client services, because the client demand is shifting, and to manage this flow, this is AI needed, of course. But let's dream now a little bit about the future also. What's going to happen, because I'm sure you have visions for the next 20 years also. So what I believe extremely heavily is automatization and consolidation in last mile delivery. Two things that are important. And probably not the oldest, but the second oldest profession in the world, courier. It's still as it was 120 years ago. Then it was a man and a horse. Now it's a man and a van.
Electric.
autonomous vehicles are evolving, and actually I was quite a skeptic about them. But now when I see those Cleveron and Starship robots on the street, how clever they actually are and how they manage to operate in changing different circumstances, I think they are going to be not this thing. They cannot handle the volume, big volume, but still they are going to be a part of that. Or what do you see? How do you see autonomous vehicles fit
Yeah.
in the last mile delivery?
We also have the drones and stuff like this, you know. So and in that part of it, no doubt about that, some of those things will find its way in. Let me start with the drones. Actually, I do think that's a really fantastic idea. But if you're looking at the number of parcels that we have, you know, just in Denmark, maybe 200 million. It's still racing, going upwards. Yeah. So if we have to deliver all those parcels with drones, then we would have another problem because you will not be able to see the sky. And then again, you know, also on the energy efficiency, you know, driving, sending out drones with peer-to-peer parcels. I'm a little bit skeptical on can we, you know, actually, because you still have to load them with power to get out there and get back again. So that's also a cost that you should add in to this here, to this game. Not to say that the drones will be there, because drones will be there for special deliveries that you need to have them fast. It could be medical stuff, it could be on a mountain, it could be industrial stuff and stuff like this. You know, there it will find its way in, no doubt about that. The sector where we are looking into is the everyday sector. That's sneakers for you and me. It's food, and it's cell phones, and it's clothing, and it's all these normal things that a human being has to have in order to do their life. Yeah. So those are the things that kind of with the mass actually. I think, you know, for the time being, the parcel locker is a really good answer on this here. It's a really good way of delivering those here. And what I see is that in the cities, they are driving with smaller vehicles. They are now electrical. So you can say it's just a man with a van. It's still a man with a man, but it's an electric van. Yeah. And we definitely have, you know, to be focused on sustainability in these here. So on that behalf, I do still think that a human being, for at least some part of the time, will then be part of the equation, in so to speak, in the delivery process. And there might be autonomous cars and vehicles driving in, doing stuff on this here. We also looking into this here in you know, we are doing it in a completely different way, but this is definitely also something that we think are coming, but we call it 2027 or even further out there in the future, because until now I do think that consolidation is a key word. Okay, I think you mentioned it on your own. We will see cities where, you know, I think actually they will start to reduce the number of course, the number of cars. The number of diesel cars will be reduced very fast. You can just go to Copenhagen. It's very soon to be over. Amsterdam is already over now, you know. So we have to think in other ways of doing this here. So consolidation is one of them, where instead of going in with 1, 2, 3, 4 different couriers, maybe delivering to the same boxes, you will have one consolidated partner to deliver some of the parcels into the city, and either during nighttime or with smaller vehicles that can go in fast and out. So what we tend to do in this here, we try to create a software around this particular software. And the good thing about the parcel loggers that we have right now is that everything actually acts in real time, which means that we know in real time when a parcel has been picked up. We know in real time when a courier has been there and delivered some stuff. So all this real time information, all this data can actually be used to better optimize the route planning. Okay. So because we will also see lots of people delivering, returning stuff, and putting in first mile parcels, or there could be expired parcels or whatever. So the inflow comes from two sides, you know, the courier bringing something out, and then end customers leaving something back, either for shipments or for return parcels. So, and this year it's kind of a little bit unpredictable when and where this happens. But as we know all this data in real time, we can help them plan the routes. So instead of going in fixed routes, you will go in different routes. That actually fits your van, it fits your electric car, and you can do it fast and you can do it efficient. And I still think that for some years to come, we will still have electric cars or human beings delivering those mass parcels. And again, I'm not questioning Cleveron or these fine autonomous systems, because they are really, really fine. But for the mass market, I still do think that for the next coming years, we won't see electric robots in the city as yet. It will come. But for now, I think the parcel locker is a really good answer if we can actually optimize the way that we are using them by either consolidating, putting in more than one, let it be open networks. I can see also some of our customers are talking about, even though that they put up the network, we are by, whenever you buy a network from us, it's by default open. Okay, so we have customers saying, okay, but we would be the only one operating it. That's fine, yeah. But you at any time would be able to create a new network or a new carrier or courier carrier, we are calling them. You need to have a couple of couriers to deliver the parcels. But a carrier, you can create another carrier on top of the one that you have and start to use the capacity for more than one. We are doing this in Denmark. I think it's PostNord and Bring and DHL and a couple of other carriers that are using the network here in Denmark. So it's actually going pretty well. So that's one way of actually getting a little bit of sustainability in this here. What we really wouldn't like to see is that one operator puts on their boxes and another operator puts on, and then maybe side by side. We've already seen that. Some of our customers are already doing this, and this is also mighty fine. But from a sustainable way of doing things, it should be networks where it's kind of operator free. Or it's open networks. Us as customers, you and I as end customers, well, it's nice to pick up something in a branded box. It's not about that, but at the end of the day, my loyalty goes to the app or the experience that I have with this logistics carriers, and not where I pick it up. If you go to a service point, they also are open, so you can pick up parcels from many carriers in a service point. And the way of handing over parcels and stuff like this is the same from one carrier to the other. So that's not where we are seeking for differences. Us as end customers would just have the experience being just around the corner, as close as I can get. Maybe I can even walk over there, because that's the most sustainable way of picking up parcels. Yeah. So I think consolidation and open networks is definitely something that we already master. We will become better in it, but we already do master it. So if you buy a network from us, it's by definition open. So if you want to close it, you can do it. We will not hinder that, but you can also open it for other carriers, and that's already being seen around the world. So I think that's one part of it. And then back in 2019, we were accelerator company together with the United Nations. They selected 19 companies of Denmark here, and we were one of them, and we were happy. We were just launching the Infinity Box at that point in time, and they said, this box is mighty fine, actually. It's really good. We can see it's sustainable because now you can set it up and people, in front of the residential house, and you don't have to take your car to pick up your parcel. You can just pick it up in front of your house. So it makes really good sense on that part of it. And when then the couriers will start to drive electric, then you have a sustainable path here, that sustainable chain that can actually operate for the next many years without actually polluting too much. However, you got one problem, they said. The packaging. The packaging around the box will actually last for 21 hours or something like that. You have to do something about that. Yeah, but it's not my game because I'm creating locker boxes. then they actually pointed to us, yeah, but somebody has to do something about it. And for that, actually, we created new sustainable packaging that are going to fly around in the boxes, which means that they are not people when they are picking up stuff, they are taking it out of this sustainable box and then it actually goes back again. So, in order to actually create a complete sustainable solution, or a solution where we have no garbage actually flying out of it, what people are putting in and buying, whatever, sunglasses or mobile phones and stuff like this, I cannot do anything with. I hope other people would do that. But in the value chain from shipper to end user, I think somehow we all in this industry has a responsibility to do whatever we can do to keep this channel clean, because otherwise there will just be governmental regulations, and it's not going to be a sustainable solution that we can have for many years. And we really wanted to create something that is sustainable in every aspect. And then it's not only the box that should be sustainable, no, but it should be the full value chain, and we kind of see ourselves having a responsibility in that chain. So we are bringing in products into this year. We're starting the first pilots on recyclable packaging together with one of the bigger e-retailers in Denmark. And hopefully we actually already have pilot 1 and pilot 2 out there, and giving really fine results. And now we are going in a larger scale pilot here in this autumn. So we are actually looking very much forward to that. Learning, trying to learn how we can actually take out the packaging and still create value in every part of the chain. It should be easier for the e-retailers to pack and do their stuff. Okay. So printing out a label takes a couple of minutes. Folding out a cardboard box takes a couple of seconds too, So what if we could take that out of the equation? What if they could pack directly down in these bags and boxes, and they put in some data in it, and all the shipment information and everything is kind of following the product? What if the couriers actually have a better way of tracking these parcels? Today we have a traditional old label on them, printed out with a barcode on it. We had this while we were still riding horses. Why not actually putting this over and making some smarter things to optimize the way that they are route planning, the way that to find parcels easier, what should go into this service point, what should go this way, to do this a lot easier for them. So we try to seek for values here we can bring in by putting in some nifty electronics and some fine software in this part of the value chain. And for us as end users, yeah, we saw with pilot 1 and pilot 2 that people really like this. So they want to select this part of it because it's, first of all, it's sustainable, And secondly, I don't have to deal with all the cardboard. I don't know how it is home at your place, but I got kids at home. Yeah. And they order a lot. And every weekend I fill a car and then go to the dump to get rid of all the garbage. And I know we can recycle some of it, but it's a value chain with noise in, okay? And I think we should try to look at all aspects of our value chain. How can we remove noise, waste going out of one line? Packaging is one of them. And we calculated on this here, it's just it's enormously how many kilo of packaging, cardboard, plastic, inlays that are actually being thrown away. And most of this is less, or it's about an average 21 hours old. From brand new, folded packaging to garbage. And that's not sustainable. We have to do something about that. Whatever we are coming up with the right answer right now, I don't know. We are hoping that we are coming up with something. We're really doing it. We're really thinking about how we can do it. And then we have to try things out. We have to get things out there. Now we are getting some 1,000 units out there, and then see, okay, how does this work? Can people understand it? Would they take it in? There's new behaviors. I don't have to take my bags home or the garbage home as I did before, but my habit is that I take it home and throw it away. So now I have to change my habit to just take a paper bag out with my stuff in and then go home, and then let the bag or the whatever you have been packed in here just stay there, because it will find it automatically. It finds its way home to the next user. Yeah. So that's some of the basic ideas in that project here. And so for us, the sustainability is something that we definitely have to think about. And I think in the industry here, we somehow have to stand together to actually solve some of those issues. I don't know how it is actually in your country right now, but if I go down to my retail store and buy my groceries, I have to pay quite a lot of money for a plastic bag. And most of those are taxation, EU taxation. Yeah. So they have to tax me for it, and they cannot give it for free and stuff like this. So I think if we in the industry are not standing together to try to find solution for those issues or those waste areas that we have in our value chain, then somebody else will come and do it for us. And suddenly it'll be governmental, then it'll be packaging tax that will be put on. And then suddenly all value chain will not be a value chain any longer. Then it'll be, there will be no parcels in the value chain, because it'll be just too expensive to go and purchase it on the internet, because the packaging and the taxations and the waste is going to be too expensive because it's taxed. So I'd rather have that we in the industry come up with smart plans to take these waste areas out. And we have to do this to keep our business. Yeah, that's one thing. But we also definitely have to do this to kind of keep the planet a place where we can live on.
I agree with that also. What I see also from the overall industry, I see that now the parcel locker business is sort of in a scaling phase. We are the worldwide is going to be going on quantitative scaling. But we need this kind of future thinking new services to develop now in order to introduce them in some of the years. So I think you are in absolutely right track, and this is going to be very interesting. Those on top over the top services, as you mentioned, it's not only boxes but value added. Listen, Allan, it was pleasure to talk to you. I really admire what you are doing and what you are thinking. I hope our viewers also appreciate that, and thank you again. I hope you are doing extremely well with your Infinity series lockers and your ecosystem software. And hopefully see you soon, maybe in Amsterdam.
We will definitely be there. Yeah. And you will
Thank
also
you.
be able to see the packaging products that we have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Allan. Take
Thank
care.
you.
See you.
Take care. Good. Bye-bye.